United States Marine. I can respect veterans, not soldiers. However, looking at what the Wikipedia says, which may or may not be true, I don't know. But it seems to me that he's got 4 different citizenships. And we're pushing a lot of stuff on the United States for a guy who got busted, alright? He got fucking busted. Yes, it's actually a fair trade, depending on the information the guy was able to get. I mean, I look at it this way. Both of these men, the Russian and the Marine, both of them are doing their jobs, okay? However, just doing your jobs and just following orders, those are not valid reasons. You already know that there is a punishment and a consequence if you get busted. When I do the things that I do, I know that there will be a consequence. I know that I will get busted. And here's why I know that I'll get busted. Because if I do it with intent and for a reason. And that intent and reason is specifically to turn myself in. How complicated is this? I had to try to force myself and my evidence to be seen by somebody who would do something about it. But nobody's going to do anything about it without friends or family. Now, a lot of people are pissed off about this Griner lady, wanting to compare her with this Marine. I'm not supposed to compare myself with this teacher guy. I'm not supposed to compare myself with this Griner lady. I'm not supposed to compare myself with this Marine. You're right, I shouldn't. I'm a better person than all of them. You don't like hearing that. That's a flash judgment, and it's rude, and it's inconsiderate, and it's mean. Wait, isn't it, though? You're right. You are absolutely right. Kind of like your flash judgment that I must be guilty and I don't matter. Let me tell you, that 61-year-old, he knew he was breaking the law. He got busted breaking the law. And if I ain't got absolutely any respect for what's going on, it's for a reason. You see that we have 2 white men. One of these white men is still in prison, and according to the Russian laws, she actually broke the law worse than he did. Now, he's an educator, so he should have fucking known better. In either event, all 3 of them are Americans and should have fucking known better. Now, here's what I want to know. Why is it the Canadians aren't doing anything about it? Why is it the Irish aren't doing anything about it? How about the British? You always got to put the T's in there, sir. You've got to try to put it into a hoity-toity accent, like you heard on TV. One of them old sailor movies, perhaps. That's right, Mr. Shmee. If the guy's really got 4 citizenships, and 2 of these citizenships, I find it highly improbable that the Irish and the English like each other well enough to do that. That's not to say it's an impossibility. Hell, it might be an everyday occurrence. The thing is that if he's got British citizenship, then Northern Ireland, he would also have citizenship in. But that's not Irish citizenship. That's British citizenship. Irish citizenship would be to the south and to the east. The people who say, hey, we are Irish. We are actually Irish. If you're British and Irish citizen, I don't get that. It don't make sense to me. Now, being as this guy is in Canada, shit, he's been taught to be super nice, as the rest of the world believes. It's a stereotype. It's a great thing to play on. He's a Canadian. He was born in Canada, served as a U.S. Marine. He's got Canadian citizenship, British citizenship, Irish citizenship. He can basically freely go in a lot of places where other people can't. I wonder if he has a little bit of an accent for each of them. He probably does. If he's anything like me, he probably is quite chameleon. I don't mean like literally chameleon, but I mean he's probably been a lot of places and he can do a few accents. I can't do any British accents. I've never been to Britain. Most of what I've heard is the Americanized stuff that's done for TV. We get a British voice actor who is reading an American script. Ugh. I've also heard a couple of British folks having a conversation in a pub similar to, well, Austin Powers, right? You see that part where he's talking to his dad and they're speaking in English, real English, and it's got all that stuff at the bottom. The funny thing is that this guy has definitely been in a situation where he's seen that happen. Either him or the actual British actor who was playing that part, because it was done perfectly as far as confusing the shit out of somebody listening. Like, what the fuck did he just say? They said a whole bunch of stuff that doesn't seem like it fits together, and we got similar stuff here in America. Confuse the living hell out of people. Of course, when you talk to a British person versus when you've got two British men who are in a bar right next to each other and both of them are from different parts and both of them miss home just a little bit and there's a little bit of home there and they just get drunk and chit-chatty. What the fuck? That is not English. That's... the words are English, but they... what the fuck? Anyway, let's get back to the subject at hand. The subject at hand here is that people thought that trading that Marine spy for that arms dealer might be a good trade. It actually might, if that Marine, as a spy, was able to get anything good as far as information goes. But we won't know that if we never trade him. We're not traders, are we? You see what I did there? That's right, play on words. So this Griner lady, she's not likely to have information that is going to be able to stop anything that this guy we just released is supposedly capable of. So that's what lets me believe that this guy is actually innocent. I believe that he's innocent because there is no way that the United States government is going to release somebody who is actually that dangerous in exchange for a black person, a woman, or a lesbian who is not a fucking spy. Now, let's also look at the fact that she was in Russia and thought that she could go through there with pot. She would have to be the world's dumbest fucking spy. Sure, she goes over there and plays basketball, and she comes over here and plays basketball, and goes back over there and plays basketball. And she does freely travel. So she could be a spy. Maybe she was over there and she got some real good information. But I doubt it. I'm pretty sure that she was over there and she fucking thought she was gonna get fucking special treatment because she was an American. She thought she was gonna get special treatment because she was a woman. She thought she was gonna get special treatment because she's black. She thought she was going to get special treatment because she was a lesbian. She thought she was going to get special treatment because she was a basketball player in the WNBA and also played in Russia. In her mind, she was quasi-famous. And of course, if anything happens, she could say, oh, they did it because I'm black. They did it because I'm a lesbian. They did it because I'm a woman. They did it to get back at America because I play for the WNBA. But I noticed that she pled guilty, and you still want to pretend like what she did was not against the law. You know, I had to plead guilty to things I didn't even do in order to get evidence back of corruption right here in the United States. Actual corruption. Ms. Griner got busted with actual concentrated THC. I'm going to tell you God's honest truth here. I have marijuana with me right now. I can literally grab marijuana within arm's reach right now. You know what I'm not doing? I'm not smoking it. I'm not transporting it across state lines. I am not getting on a fucking airplane knowing that it's a federal fucking crime. And that's one of the things that many of y'all want to pretend like this Griner lady is ignorant and stupid, and that, you know, she's all of a sudden now some stereotype of she's incredibly dumb and poor thing, she's a victim of stupidity, poor her. No, abso-fucking-lutely not. She thought she was going to get away with it and was going to get special fucking treatment. And thank goodness she went to Russia and they didn't fucking do it. But here in America, if you want to win elections, it is extremely important for you to appease the people who care. And basically, you got to appease those people by giving them what they want. It is very, very popular to stick up for a black person, even if they're wrong. It is very, very, very popular now to stick up for a homosexual, even if they're wrong. It is very, very popular now to give famous people and quasi-famous people special treatment and special attention. And it for most certainly has always been, in my lifetime, that women do, in fact, get special treatment, special leeway, special allowance, and free tickets to not go to fucking jail when they're creepy ass fucking stalkers or fucking junkies who destroy innocent people's lives. Every time I broke the law to try to keep people safe. I broke the law with the intent of serving my time for what I was guilty of. But every single time, that was my last resort after going to my friends and going to my family repeatedly, and they simply did not care. And that, folks, is why we have disabled homeless people out there whose rights are not being observed. And every cop who joined the force wanting to shoot somebody, thinking he was going to get to Dirty Harry somebody's ass, realizes he can't even shoot a black man who's running away from him anymore. He's not allowed to shoot a Mexican for running away anymore. It's not like it is in the movies where you get to just pull it out and shoot them. Because if somebody actually films you doing what they do in the movies, your ass is going to prison. So, we got this Marine here. If he got good information, it would be a good trade. Like this guy that we released, he's literally got the potential to harm hundreds of thousands, if not potentially even millions of people, if he's got that good of contacts, and especially right now with him being able to be a poster boy over there for the Russians. I mean, here's a guy who is so innocent that we traded him for a woman who was busted for pot. Holy shit. Now, I don't know about you guys, but that's like being in the South, right? You got somebody in the South who thinks they're smart, but they go anywhere else in America and somebody hears their Southern accent, those people automatically assume that that Southerner is about 20 points of IQ less than they actually are. Some Southerners use that to be smooth talkers and to swindle people. You play stupid. It's amazing how people will take advantage of any advantage that they can get, assumptions that people have. You know, just a little bit of common fucking sense here, folks. That's all I'm asking out of any of y'all. You guys say that the system doesn't work, and you're right, it doesn't work. But we have seen time and again where public opinion works. That's where freely sharing evidence and information is important. If you care about somebody and they're being harmed over a false narrative, you want to tell the truth. If you don't want to tell the truth and you don't want to correct the people that are harming them, then you're not their friend. Now you get to hear with this lady, though. Of course, she doesn't have a whole bunch of people trying to say that she did a bunch of stuff that she didn't. Is it her fault that we've got a dumb government here? No. Is it her fault that she was stupid? Well, yeah. Yeah, she's obviously not that fucking stupid. She obviously thought she was going to get special privileges. Whitney Houston thought she was going to get special privileges too. And actually, she did. She got a far, far, far lighter sentence than a man. Multiple times, might I add. And where the hell are my rolling papers? Now, I do want to mention that the people that you seem to care about the most are famous people or quasi-famous people. When it comes to police brutality, you only care if it's a woman or a minority. Anyone else, you only care if people tell you to care. Even women and minorities, you gotta wait for the... You see the most brutal shit out on the streets. Right? And the media won't do shit, won't report on shit, won't look at shit, won't say shit. But some fucking stuck-up white girl gets her little fucking feelers hurt because somebody said something that can be construed in a bad way. Shit, we got officers... Yeah, this isn't a joke, by the way. We do have police officers who are sitting in prison over women's opinions. That's not a joke. This is something that every man in America is afraid of. Every man in America has to be afraid that they can go to prison over a woman's opinion. Even if it's not actually her opinion. Like when you try to turn in a female stalker, and the cops are blowing you off. And she goes to her friends because she knows you're trying to turn her in. And what does she do? Plays fucking victim. Now she knows that she's got a vagina, and that gives her special privileges, special leeway, and of course, the assumption of guilt for anybody she's trying to blame who has a penis. Well, it's similar with the cops. The problem with the cops is that you were repeatedly told that you have to go to literally the cops that you're trying to turn in to turn them in. How appropriate is it for me to have to turn in Scott DaCosta to Scott DaCosta? That is highly fucking inappropriate. How appropriate is it for me when I'm trying to turn in, God, what's that dipshit's name? Yes, Officer Schmidt, up there in Tacoma. When I was trying to turn him in, you know what they did? Knowing that I was trying to turn that officer in, they transferred me to that officer. I'm trying to turn that officer in, and they literally commit a felony. A felony that they've committed repeatedly. Forcing the victim to go to their predator to ask their predators to investigate themselves is highly inappropriate. It's also a felony here in the United States. There's a big difference between what she did and what I've done. I've committed a lot worse crimes than she has. A lot worse crimes than she has. I've committed worse crimes than she has, even today, multiple times, just so you know. And that's just based on what she's accused of. The only thing that I know that she's been accused of is, well, something that is a felony. It's a federal felony here in the United States. What she did is a felony. I wonder if she told them Russians where she got the pot. If she says that she got it from such and such dispensary in Seattle, Washington, are you guys gonna threaten to kill her for being a rat, for being a narc, for rolling over, for telling the truth? She spent 10 months for a felony that is even a felony here in the United States. She transported those goods to there from another country. And I suppose I haven't talked about that teacher as much, right? Because everybody's all up about that Marine. No, that Marine is probably a spy. He did his job, he knew the risks, he got busted. It happens. He happens to fit into a category that makes it stupid for him to go to Russia, and he should have known it. The number of countries that he is a citizen of means that they can arrest him as a spy. And yes, he absolutely can. International law allows him to do that. International law. And he can be detained indefinitely. He doesn't have to be found guilty. They can literally hang him if they're in time of war, which they are. That Marine can be hung because it's a time of war. So he's definitely lucky he has not been hung. I hear Russians are more fond of shooting people, but I'm not Russian and I've never been to Russia and I've never had a Russian tell me that. I only know what the English accented narrator on my shows says. Or the other ones are the Charlton Heston ones. You know the ones. They've got the deep voice like this. Sorry about that. And he talks about the gentle lions and the graceful gazelle. He does narration for all sorts of shit. And he also did Planet of the Apes, for those of you who don't know who he is. He's the damn dirty apes. That's the guy. He's the, you can have my guns when you pry them from my cold, dead hands. That Charlton Heston. The Second Amendment, Charlton Heston. The guns rights, Charlton Heston. That guy. Meanwhile, the arms dealer that we traded for Miss Griner, well, he was on a radio show in Russia, and we get to hear all this stuff about Russia. But in Russia, just like in the 1940s and 1950s and a little bit in the 1960s, we had shooting competitions in school. There were school shooting teams. Can you imagine that today? I mean, hell, we've had literally third graders going to jail and being arrested in school for having G.I. Joe guns since I was a kid in school. In Russia, field stripping an AK-47 is required for graduation. That's fucking nuts. I think it's great. Every citizen knows how to defend themselves. Based on how they're doing in, well, around Kiev, they're getting their asses whooped. So their marksmanship ain't that great. Their training ain't that great, but at least they know how to fire a fucking rifle. And this guy that we released, he's been on a radio show in Russia, and I'm going to tell you what's so great about this radio show. Number one, it's run by a woman. That's right. Number two, and you might not get this one. This one might go a bit over your head. It's a Second Amendment station. The lady who runs it, she's a Second Amendment rights activist in Russia. That is correct, sir. What does the Second Amendment do? Those of you who are Americans probably don't know this, but the British know it. What they're so appalled by is the misuse. The Second Amendment is supposed to protect our First Amendment right. And you get to see those who are trying to exercise their First Amendment rights here, who don't have access to the Second Amendment, are not heard. Was it Dr. Martin Luther King Jr., whose words got our great and mighty tyrant government to finally pretend that black people were human beings? No, it wasn't. It was Malcolm X explaining that white people bleed too. Bullets kill white people too. If a white person points a gun at you and starts shooting at you, you should have the right, no matter what color skin, to fucking shoot back. And the Black Panther Party for self-defense, same thing. Seems to me Russia is better equipped to fight for the Second Amendment than we are. Seems to me Russia is better equipped to fight for the First Amendment than we are. It seems to me that our government is dipping into the drug war a little bit too much and trying out a bit of their product. That's for those of you tinfoil hatters who say that the CIA and all that are giving drugs only to black inner cities and all that. No, sure, we got people who claim they were CIA that claim they were doing that stuff, and maybe they did, maybe they didn't. But that's tinfoil hat shit to me. What's not tinfoil hat shit to me is that the San Diego government itself admitted that over 30,000 people were human trafficked through San Diego last year alone. 30,000 people. This is one port of call. One. One of many. What's one of the most common things that American sailors get in any major port of call in America? An ingress of Russian women. We got so many American sailors hiring Russian hookers in Norfolk, San Diego, San Francisco, Bremerton. That's right, even Bremerton. Russian and Ukrainian women brought over here for the sex trade here in the United States. Yeah, I'd say that Russia definitely has more than enough reason right there. The people who buy the product want to blame the seller. The seller wants to blame the market, which is blaming the people who consume the product. Unfortunately, that product is human flesh. And it's not just Russian women. Did you know that American military prisons are the only prisons in the country that have primarily child molesters in them and sexual predators? 70%. 70% of those in military prisons are in there for being child molesters or rapists. A large quantity of those are their own wives or their battle buddies. That's right, a lot of women were raped on the battlefield. Amanda Ingelein claimed that she was raped more than once. She wanted to do that when she was trying to tell me I just have to let it go and forget about it. Like, you're lucky that you got to forget about it and move on the way that you have. But obviously you haven't forgotten about it or moved on. Obviously it is traumatic enough for you to bring it up more than once. About how you still feel about it. Well, why don't you turn the man in? I'll help you, Amanda. Despite the fucked up shit that you and your mom did. I don't hate these people. I hate what they've done. I hate the excuses that they've made. And I get that hate is a strong word. A lot of times people want to stop me and say, oh, hate's a strong... Hold on a second there, bud. I get that it's a strong word. There's a reason I'm using that fucking word. Now, all these people who know me, who know I'm not schizophrenic, know I'm not delusional, and know that I went to them for help about the situation, why are they so afraid in the United States to exercise their First Amendment right? People don't like to admit when they're wrong. They don't like to admit when they messed up. You know, these people, it's fine for them to even plead the fifth, but they still need to show up to court. When I show the evidence, when I show the screenshots of the phones themselves, the conversations themselves, they can listen to themselves. They can look at the jury, who can also hear that it is their voice. They can take the fifth. However, if you were involved with me at all between October 18th of 2015 and today, you're a witness to at least part of the evidence. You're a witness to the fact that I'm trying to get help, that I'm going to the media the best that I can. The media won't listen to me, so I try social media. My predators were able to use and abuse social media in order to target me and make me a target, and in order to gaslight me. I use it as a platform to speak out. The sad thing is, it's better suited for trolling and harassing people and gaslighting people than it is for telling the truth. You can't be completely honest on Facebook or YouTube, or they'll take your shit down. On the bright side, I tell the truth. And I show the truth. And a lot of my predators are able to use the fact that I tell the truth to harm me. And I get that. But I also get that them taking those things out of context is against the law. And I also know that anybody who helps them to do so and to get away with it and to deny me my rights, they all commit felonies in doing so. That includes judges, and those judges are not exempt from those felonies. Judges are not exempt from committing felonies against an at-risk adult. Nurses are not exempt from committing felonies against an at-risk adult. Heroin addicts are not exempt committing crimes against an at-risk adult is a felony no matter who you are. Doing these things across state lines against an at-risk adult are felonies no matter who you are. Forcing an at-risk adult to break the law and charging them with crimes for something that you told them was not against the law when they tried to turn it in when others did it. Does that make any sense? I am absolutely willing to spend the rest of my life in prison to see to it that these people are behind bars where they can't harm my little sister, where they can't harm my niece, where they can't harm my friends or my family or my loved ones, which they have been threatening to do since over a year before Natalie was fucking killed. Just because the people that I reached out to for help didn't keep their word doesn't mean that I didn't reach out for help. The fact that these people didn't help me and their embarrassment and their shame because people got killed because they didn't give a fuck, that's not my fucking problem. I went to them for help. They want me to take down the evidence that I went to them for help. They want me to take down the evidence that shows that they lied to me. They want to take down the evidence that shows all of the things that I said are true. There's people that, of course, told me things that they didn't want the world to know. But they told me those things, what they thought was in confidence. No, it's not in confidence. I told you that. I tell all of you that. I can't afford to just believe you. You've already taught me not to. And until you take steps to show me that you're actually being honest this time, I'm not going to believe you. Now, I also understand my job and my duty to Americans and to American citizens. I do take my oath seriously. And like that Marine, well, if I break the law in the service of my nation or the American people, I know very well that there are harsh and severe potential consequences, and I will have to face them. But I also accept those consequences. I accept that doing the right thing in a country that is so blessed as to give minorities special rights, to give women the right to commit crimes and have no responsibility against them, where we have made a country where a black person who commits a crime should be allowed to go free, or where a homosexual who commits a crime should be allowed to go free, all of them without consequence, where a black man can victimize a white man and claim that the white man said something he didn't and it's magically okay. I live in a country where if a man tells a woman no because she's drunk, whether he likes her or not is arbitrary. She was drunk and he told her no. But I live in a country where women are taught that if they're told no, they can run around and slander his name. Like that young man who intelligently, might I add, he pulled one of my tricks. You notice I said trick. Well, that's what you want to call it when I do it. His ex-girlfriend called him up. He broke up with her. And she calls him up and says that she's going to run around spreading rumors that he's a pedophile because he broke up with her. He broke her heart, so that makes it okay. And that young man was smart enough to record it and post it on YouTube. Yes, my fucking hero. He wasn't just fighting for his rights when he did that. He was fighting for all of ours, and he was showing the truth. While you pretend that no woman would ever do such a thing, the fact is most of the women I know have done such a thing. Most of the women that I know well have admitted to me doing such things. The problem is getting them to admit to it a second time. I know a lot of women that I have recorded on here that I told you were my friends that did messed up stuff because of drugs and alcohol. And they admitted those things. Did you know that Rihanna admitted that I didn't do the things that I was forced to plead guilty to in Wyoming? Did you know she admitted I didn't actually do those things? It's recorded on my channel. But that didn't matter, did it? She admitted that she did those things because she was mad at me. Well, I understand why she was mad at me. I fucking called the cops on her. She was fucking beating on those kids. When it comes to that Griner lady, she committed the crime, she can do the time. We should send her back to Russia. As far as that guy that we traded for her, if he was really that guy that they claimed he was, they wouldn't be trading him for a little bit nobody like that Griner lady. There is nothing special about her that makes her more of a trade than that teacher or that Marine, except to appease, well, BLM, which is a racist hate group, and LGBT Pride, which is, well, an orientation-based hate group, or has become that anyway. I used to go to Pride Fest every year in support of my LGBT friends. Well, just so you know, I am actually a part of the LGBT community. But there's a lot of people in the LGBT community that are very divided. Like, we've got homosexual males who say that lesbians have no idea how horrible it is to be a homosexual male because it's not popular mainstream like being a lesbian is. We definitely live in a different world. When it comes to protecting our children, that's one of the things that you turn a blind eye to the most, like children in foster care. I grew up in the foster care system here in America, and it's nasty. On average, 5 children a day die in foster care. We have foster care homes with so many children, they can only be described as puppy mills. It's gross. They're targeting poor children, children of low-income families. They take children, and there's a news article on this in Washington State. They were taking children because parents couldn't afford the $280 a month insurance for their kids. Low-income families. They couldn't afford the insurance for their kids. It's over $200 a month per kid. So they took those kids away from the parents, made the parents jump through a bunch of expensive classes that cost even more than that per month, so those parents lose everything and end up homeless. What happens to those children and what happens to those parents? Those parents sink into a depression, and they're also, of course, victimized by the police because you guys don't want to see them. And it seems to a lot of folks right now that that's the same reason that Miss Griner was traded for this guy who could potentially be a mass murderer. That decision could potentially lead to a lot more deaths in the future. But it's election year, so who cares about how many people are murdered next year as long as Biden wins? Same thing with Trump before him. Same thing with Bush. Same thing with, of course, Obama. As you can tell, I don't have any respect for any of them. The last president I actually liked was Clinton, and he was a son of a bitch. Wasn't he? And I didn't like him as a fucking person. I just thought he did a great job as a president. I still didn't think he was qualified. I don't think his wife is qualified either. When it comes to Barack Obama, yeah, I voted for him because he's black. And yes, I get that that is a racial motivation. But if it had been Colin Powell, I would have voted for Colin Powell just based on the fact that it's Colin Powell, no matter what color he was. General Norman Schwarzkopf was a fucking moron. He knew how to win a battle, but not how to use the victory. Then again, his hands were tied, right? Isn't that what we always say? Our hands are tied, our hands are tied. No, your cowardice is not the same as having your hands tied. You're holding the rope and somebody's neck is dangling at the other end. Talk to me like I'm fucking stupid. Talk down to me and go out of your way to fucking play manipulative goddamn tricks. Thank goodness we got Russia and a Russian radio station and a Russian woman running that radio station that is for the Second Amendment. What does the Second Amendment do? The Brits already know this, don't you? Those of you from New Zealand already know this, don't you? Those of you in Australia know this already, don't you? Our Second Amendment was created to protect our First Amendment. Our Second Amendment is not a hunting law. It is an anti-tyrant law. And as a result, like I said about Dr. Martin Luther King Jr., his peaceful talking didn't do shit. It was men with guns who scared the living shit out of the white people in power, who were refusing to give these people rights when they were asking nicely. Dr. Martin Luther King Jr. asked nicely. But, of course, that ain't why he got what he wanted. And he didn't get it in his lifetime. And today, we still fighting that battle. Of course, a lot of that has to do with the fact that instead of black folks picking up arms and walking into the California Senate, they're picking up arms and shooting at each other. Same thing with white folks. You want to focus on black crime, white on white crime, whatever the hell ever else. Fact is, we're killing the wrong people. We shouldn't be killing anybody. You know, this thing's starting to change almost. Once the Senate realized that, yeah, you know, there's a bunch of black people who do have the right to have guns, and it is an anti-tyrant law. If they really wanted to walk in there and had walked in there with the intent to shoot everybody in that building, they could have lawfully done so because of the Second Amendment and what the Second Amendment in specific is for. Now, as you guys know, I am against owning a gun myself. I personally hunt with a bow, and that is for personal reasons of the safety of those around me. It's not that I'm at any risk of having a loaded gun in my possession, in my backpack, rattling around, where something could bump the safety and trip the trigger. No, I'm not afraid of that. I'm very safe with firearms. It's the matter of you never know when somebody knowing that you have it will result in them being afraid of you and fucking pulling the trigger first, asking questions later. There's also the fact of you either need to get a concealed carry permit or you have to carry it on your hip. If you're homeless, you technically aren't allowed to own a firearm. You have to have a legal residence in order to own a firearm in the United States. So, legally, no homeless person is actually allowed to own a firearm. Now, if they do have an actual legal residence where they actually do reside, it's different. But if you're a homeless person and you're using the address that you had 10 years ago on your ID, and you use that to go get a firearm, you can go to federal prison. That's right, folks, federal prison. Also, if you manufacture an illegal firearm, you can get up to 20 years in prison. You can actually get more than that, depending on what you put onto it. I know that the modifications that I put onto the firearm that's illegal that I made could possibly and potentially add an extra 50 years to that. So, I mean, we're talking about Sean David Schwartz right here on his own channel admitting to something that potentially get him 70 years in prison. But that also keeps my family and my loved ones safe. I'm not sure if you noticed, but a lot of the people that I spoke up about are fucking dying off like flies. Some of them are dying of fentanyl overdoses. Some of them are getting shot in the head. Some of them are having heart attacks. Some of them are having seizures. Some of them were probably beaten to death, but we'll call them seizures. But yeah, this Griner lady is so super important, right? Election year. You know, if you don't side with homosexuals, then you will be targeted by homosexuals. If you don't bow down to women, you will be targeted by women. If you don't bow down to blacks, you will be targeted by blacks. Now, that doesn't mean that every woman will target you. It doesn't mean that every black will target you. It doesn't mean that every homosexual is going to target you. But the fact is, there are those within each of these special interest groups that they should be, well, above the law. Above having to treat other human beings like human beings. You know the type. It's not because they're gay. It's not because they're women. It's not because they're black. It's because some people, no matter what, it's never enough. That's one thing I noticed about minorities out on the streets. You got a bunch of women out there complaining that they're the most victimized because they're the women, and everybody should pay more attention to them because they're more victimized because they're women. Right? But then we got black folks out there who say, you know, this stuff is only happening to me because I'm black. This stuff is happening more to me than it's happening to all of you, and it's because I'm black. I think all y'all should drop what you're doing and fight exclusively for my rights. You guys just don't understand because you ain't black. And then we got the immigrant. He comes in and he doesn't speak that great English, but his gripe is exactly the same. Hey, you know, I'm an immigrant. I get victimized even more by all these people than any of the rest of you do because I'm an immigrant. People hate immigrants. Have you guys not noticed that for the most part, Americans really just hate everybody? They hate everybody who's not them or their special fucking interest. Americans hate everybody that they don't want to have sex with. But then again, they even hate a lot of the people they have sex with too, don't they? Which Americans, right? That's right. People who are selfish, they have names. People who are predatory, they have names. The two often go hand in hand. Selfish people are far less likely to admit when they've done something wrong. I'm willing to admit something wrong knowing that I am not going to live to 112 years old. It's just not going to happen. Now, although I was blackmailed into making that firearm, and they might want to give me leniency for that, I don't want leniency. My family and my friends have been telling me that they've been threatened, harassed, and intimidated by predators for years. They've been telling me this for years. And I've recorded it, and many of them are angry that I recorded it and posted it in public. But they had every chance and every opportunity to come forward on their own. And they took their dear sweet fucking time twiddling their thumbs and farting fucking Dixie. And of course, the United States government yet again dropped at least another 10 IQ points off of the American population as far as the way the world looks at us. When I was younger, a lot of people that were racist wanted to refer to black people as primates and chimpanzees and apes and shit like that. But then you looked at the ones who are making us look like a bunch of chimpanzees. It's Congress, it's the Senate, it's our fucking presidents. It doesn't seem to me that that should have ever been a racial term for somebody of a different skin color, especially since we've got primates of all sorts of different colors. All sorts of different colors. The golden lion tamarind is so fucking cute and so fucking pink. It is so tiny and it's got big brown eyes. The pygmy marmoset, the golden lion tamarind, there's all sorts of different little ones and big ones. And which primate do you want to compare them with? We know that chimpanzees has a quite advanced social structure. We also know that if you're an intelligent person, you have to dumb yourself down, because if you present yourself as an intelligent person to most Americans, they're going to assume you're hoity-toity and think you're better than them. The reality is you're definitely not better off. Ignorance is bliss, isn't it? The people who harm me don't care if what they're saying is true or not. They don't care if what they heard was true or not. But my friend sure showed one thing. They could do everything except what was on that piece of paper and admitting to what they were a part of. Miss Peaches could have come forward. She could have helped me before Natalie was killed by doing the things that are on that piece of paper. Doing the friend or family thing. Help them to turn it in immediately. Don't blow them off and treat them like it's nothing. I'm stuck in a really messed up position. I can't defend myself physically. I can't defend myself financially. I can't take care of myself. And Maslow's hierarchy of needs is something you guys just overlook far too much and far too often. How am I supposed to do all of these other time-consuming and expensive things that I am expected to do by myself to defend myself when I'm not allowed to do those things because of the term mentally ill? When I don't have any friends or family to go in with me for my safety, as I asked from the start. Here's the thing. The reason these instructions say friends or family first is because we all know how corrupt the government is and how corrupt individual officials are and how they will do special favors for each other and for their coworkers and for their friends. And there is supposed to be a way for us, the victims, to be able to turn those people in. Lucky for me, even though nobody else helped me with the situation with Polly Olson, she was turned in by somebody else for doing the same thing to somebody else. And as a result, she got in a shit ton of trouble. Thank goodness. But that is not justice. A lot of people want to focus just on the Natalie thing. Oh, well, thank goodness it was proven that you didn't kill Natalie. Well, that's right. But now here's the thing. I'm still being victimized. A lot of people wanted to pretend that I killed Natalie. I had been trying to get help stopping abuse that was started by a heroin addict who just didn't want to be honest. A heroin addict who was embarrassed and who just wanted her family to love her. But I got to tell you something. With all the evidence that I've produced of what her family did to her in her own words, why is it that we have catered to their will? Why have we catered to the wants of a bunch of child molesters, a bunch of rapists, and a bunch of drug addicts and alcoholics who have chosen everything but their own children? Ted Bollinger used his daughter as a fucking sex doll. That's disgusting. He had her at 13 years of age selling drugs. That's disgusting. And everybody fucking knew it. Well, everybody but me. And why is that? Because I didn't hang out with those fucking kids. I was busy trying to run them off so they didn't get fucking addicted to drugs or knocked up by some fucking 40-year-old pervert. Because why? Because little girls think they're more mature than everyone else because we teach them. We teach them that because they mature physically faster than boys, that they're mentally smarter and mentally more mature, and therefore at 14 years of age, it's okay for a 14-year-old girl to pursue a 30 to 40-year-old man because he's what? Because he's mature and she's mature? Well, what does that end up with? That ends up with your 14-year-old having sex with somebody who knows he's going to go to prison for a long time if he gets busted having sex with her. What are the chances that he'll fucking break her neck and fucking throw her in the basement for a few? What are the chances that after he's done playing with her, that he'll chop her up into little pieces and fucking carry her out with the trash? We have taught girls some pretty messed up things that put them and us at risk. We aren't protecting our daughters and we're not protecting our sons, and we're not teaching them the same thing. When you want to post up those memes, and we got a lot of women and men who post these up that said, teach your boys that it's never okay to hit girls. Well, that's sexist. Especially when you're teaching your girls that they get to hit a man once for free. He's not allowed to do anything. She's allowed to hit him once for free. And some women take advantage of that far too often. Some people think it resets every half a second and they can slap you 10 times in a row. Some of them think that's extended to a straight up fist to the nose. Hey, a free shot is a free shot, right? We don't teach boys that they get to hit a woman once for free. But we also get to see places like at Hood River, where that lady who is obviously mentally ill, that's the word you want to use, right? You want to use that as an excuse to victimize people and to discredit them. But the reality is, Jamie was trying to get away from that man who had shoved her. She was walking away from him, and he was pursuing her. She was yelling at him, trying to get him away from her. And she continued walking to get away from the man. And then he punched her in the back of the head. This is not okay. And in that very same recording, which is on my YouTube channel, this very channel, that man in that very same video, with all those people who say it's never okay to hit a woman, all those people sat there and fucking watched, didn't say a word. Who is it that said something? That's right, the scrawny, disabled, homeless white guy. My physical abilities make it so that I can get my ass beat by a 5-year-old on accident. I'm not supposed to lift anything more than 10 pounds. I'm not supposed to twist. And I'm sure as shit not supposed to be living in a vehicle like this. But this is what happens in America when you're not the popular group. Just because a homosexual says that there was a hate crime committed doesn't mean there was a hate crime committed. If you're a loudmouth little asshole who's being a fucking piece of shit to somebody because they're straight, you're the one committing the fucking hate crime, asshole. And when you decide that you're not going to leave them alone and you're going to continually badger them over and over and over again, and then you want to go put your nasty cock beaters on them, you have now extended an open invitation for getting your fucking ass kicked. Keep your nasty cock beaters to yourself. Having a vagina doesn't make it okay to hit people. Being gay doesn't make it okay to fucking hit people. Being black doesn't make it okay to hit people. Not even if you pretend they called you the N-word. Not even if you pretend that they called you the F-word. Not even if you pretend they touched your booty. Be true to your shit, motherfuckers. Fess up to your shit. Stop telling me to fess up to my shit when I do fess up to my shit. Every time somebody wants to throw something in my face as evidence to say, hey man, here's evidence that you didn't face up to your shit, I'm like, that came off of my timeline and was typed by me. Don't tell me that's evidence I didn't face up to my shit. That is admittance right there. That is evidence that I did fess up to my shit. You stupid son of a bitch. Now, the thing that I am the most pissed off at my quote-unquote friends for is because they're not giving a shit resulted in a lot of people ending up dead and a lot of people having their lives threatened repeatedly. You really think I'm gonna be fucking happy about people threatening the life of my little fucking sister and my fucking niece? You're out of your goddamn mind. Fucking Brittany Griner. Jesus Christ. Don't make me fucking laugh. No victim left behind. That means no victim left behind. You know how we end these videos. Good to be rid of you. Thanks for coming to visit. Stay out of trouble or don't get caught. Remember, you are your brother's keeper, and no victim left behind. Not even if their predator is a police officer. Not even if their predator is black. Not even if their predator is a woman. Not even if their predator is a homosexual. Wrong is fucking wrong. It is wrong to beat on Mexicans. It is wrong. No matter who it is, we need to pay attention and fight for actual equality. And y'all need to check those within your community who are playing on bias in order to sell a false narrative. Because these are predators. And these predators make it so much harder when the victims need to get heard. Because we got people who are always paranoid that us victims are one of those fucking people. We have to be leery of false accusations because people aren't honest and they're not good. Nice, maybe. There's only one good person I know, and that person is me. When it comes to having a superiority complex, well, seems to me And being in the construction industry and the cleaning industry and the restaurant industry, everybody thinks they know better than everybody else. Every professional thinks he's better than every other professional, and no matter what, he could do it right, and nobody else can. Everybody else will mess it up no matter what. The only person who can be trusted to do it right is them. And, well, if I decide to pretend to be that way back to you, that's called fair and equal. I tried treating you the way I wanted to be treated, but it turns out that's not the golden rule. The golden rule is he who has the gold makes the rules. We live in the United States, folks. No money means no rights.